Somewhere between Canaan and his arrival into Egypt, Avraham requests of Sarah, Imri na achotiyat, identify yourself as my sister, so that v'chayta nafshi biglalech, so that I shall be able to continue living, and on close reading the word biglalech could be deemed as somewhat superfluous. This led to the first of two core questions. By what right did Avram have in asking Sarah to place herself into danger in order to save his own life? The Gutnik Chumash paraphrases 5 Mefarshei Chumash, who in their own differing ways address this issue. We shall be looking at the Ramban, the Abravanel, the Be'er Mayim Chaim, the Maharal Gur Aryeh, and the Tiferet Yehonatan from Yehonatan Eibesitz. We shall also be looking at a much earlier commentary to this pasuk, that from the Zohar. But first, a slight digression into the area of the modern-day phenomenon of internet rabbis who comment on the parasha. Nowadays, we are blessed with a plethora of individuals who have something to say on the weekly parasha. In the interest of public disclosure, while these Parshat HaShavua pontification may serve a purpose, they certainly do not replace, and in fact, unfortunately, they have come to replace the serious study of text. A second aspect that one needs to consider regarding these Divrei Torah is that they are highly subjective, relying in most cases upon the concept of Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim, to give authentication to their presentations. All one needs to do is to apply a certain character trait, an interpretation to a particular event, to the narrative recorded in the Chumash regarding the Avot, and extrapolate that into the present, for we are the Banim of those Avot. And this is where the subjectivity enters into the equation, for better or for worse. To demonstrate my point, a Google search of Maaseh Avot will produce 5,500 listings. I have attempted to trace the beginnings of this concept. I stand corrected if I am wrong, but it does not show up in the Gemara except for some obscure statement in Sotah 34a regarding the 12 stones that Yehoshua instructed to be set up, then removed from the Jordan River. And even then, we just have the words Siman Lebanim. It was the Ramban in the 1100s to whom we turn in reading the Torah text in the light of Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim, keeping in mind, though, that the Ramban was partial to Kabbalistic ideas, and Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim makes sense from the standpoint of Kabbalah. Otherwise, it is mere pulpit rabbi talk. Nevertheless, it has now become very popular, and most of the internet rabbis use this as a basis for pontificating about the parsha of that particular week. Just to demonstrate the subjectivity of this type of presentation of Torah material to the point of overload for Parashat Lech Lecha alone. Unfortunately, most of this material does not work from the text out, but from the out into the text. And we mold the text based upon the worldview of the individual presenting the Dvar Torah. Why Kirov is a critically important mitzvah. Why the test of Lech Lecha was a greater test for Avram Avinu than that of leaving Ur Kasdim. The importance of military service and the ideology of Hesder is another. Why the love of learning Torah leads to Ahavat Hashem. The relationship between Avraham and Lot. A rejection of using the Torah codes and other simanim to interpret past and present historical movements and changes. Another has the contrast of leadership between Noach and Avram Avinu. Why Torah demands that we in our personal lives must measure ourselves by a yardstick established by Avraham and Sarah. Avraham as one of Hashem's ambassadors to the world, and so on and so forth. And this goes on week after week, year in, year out. As mentioned, these Divrei Torah do have a role in the Jewish world, but they tell more of the mindset of the individual presenting these Divrei Torah and his or her worldview than actual interpretations of the text. And hence, as a general rule, in my humble opinion, make very little impact upon the hashkafot of the Orthodox Jewish world, and furthermore, fairly useless on account of their lack of objectivity for those wishing to negotiate and navigate intricacies and the nuances of the Chumash text.